Hi guys, my name is Shayla. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, we talk about motherhood, we talk about pregnancy, we do things kind of eco-friendly, natural, hippie, granola, but we keep things positive because motherhood can be very challenging and we just like to keep it positive. So I created a thought prompt flip book. So you put this in your nursery, in your kitchen. It asks you questions like, what's one thing I've always wanted to learn about? How can I make space for this? Am I the person I want to be? What am I doing well? And what do I need to adjust? There's relationship questions, questions about your kids, stuff to try and keep your mind right. I am also almost finished with my positive mindset guide that helps you transform your life, because it helped me, like journal prompts, how to write your journal prompts, things to think about, how to problem solve things, your brain's just not working right. So that'll be ready soon. So this is HEYSHAYLA.com/shop if you want to get on that email list for when the guide is live, HEYSHAYLA.com/email. I'm also on Instagram, HEYSHAYLA, and I have a podcast, HEYSHAYLA. If you're into any of that, please subscribe. If you're not new here, welcome back. Please like this video. I've got a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 2.5-month-old, and today we're going to talk about mom guilt. Somebody suggested this video, and I like when people suggest videos. So if you have anything you'd like, put them in the comments. I read all of the comments. So mom guilt. I was like thinking about what I wanted to say about this topic, and I was sitting with my husband after the children went to sleep. He was watching a show, and I was like, hey! He paused his show super willingly. And I was like, have you ever heard of mom guilt? And he's like, you talk about it a lot. Cool. Have you ever heard of dad guilt? And he was like, no. I was like, do you think dads have guilt? He's like, about what? I was like, well, do you have guilt, like if you feed them too much sugar? Do you ever have guilt if like you don't get outside for a day? Guilt if they are watching too much TV? Guilt if you let them cry for too long? Guilt going to work? Leaving them with a babysitter? Leaving them overnight? Do you ever have guilt for anything? And he was like, no, not really. For the purpose of this video, we're gonna call it mom guilt and dad guilt. I'm actually genuinely curious if same-sex couples have like a primary guilt getter and a not guilt getter. You know what I mean? For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to use mom guilt and dad guilt. My hypothesis is that the primary caretaker holds the guilt, where the secondary doesn't, because for the primary caretaker, I need to make sure that the majority of your meals are good. The majority of our day is active, that we get outside, that we do all these things. Like there's lots of things that I am in charge of, and I want to make sure that the majority of it is good. Where the secondary caretaker, they know that the majority is taken care of. And I feel like it's good to have a primary caretaker. And I might lose some of you here because pre-child Shay would be like, no, 50-50. Now, like stay-at-home mom Shay, this is probably different for two working parents as well. I am the primary caretaker. I know which fork you like, what your favorite shirt is, what all of your doctor's appointments are, and what's coming up. I know who your best friends at preschool are. And I think that that's okay. So before we dive in real deep, I'm gonna talk to you about the sponsor of this video, LMNT. I talk about them all the time because I have them every single day and I actually like them. I've used them long before I partnered with them. I actually hesitated. I was like, this seems really trendy, and I reject the trends. Then my sister got it and I tried it and I was like, okay, it's pretty good. There's no sugar in it. They have potassium, sodium, and magnesium. You wanna stay hydrated in pregnancy. You wanna stay hydrated when you're breastfeeding. You wanna stay hydrated postpartum. You wanna stay hydrated if you're working out. We went on a hike the other day, carried this guy, and I also uppied my 2-year-old most of this way. When I got back to the car, I was so glad that I had some electrolytes to just down because I was feeling very dehydrated and I just needed to feel replenished. I don't know. If you use my link, drinklmnt.com/HeyShayla, and you order anything, you will get this free sample pack so you can try all the flavors. 8 flavors in here. Unflavored, orange, watermelon, citrus, mango chili, raspberry, chocolate. And now they're about to have a seasonal pack. They recommend doing it hot. So you can put it in your coffee. You can just do some hot cocoa. If you are just feeling a little bit like you need a little extra oomph in the day, try LMNT. Okay, back to regular programming. One of the things that I teach in my guide is like, acknowledge your circumstances. I am the primary caretaker. Accept your circumstances. I'm the primary caretaker. Adapt to your circumstances. Now what? What am I going to do about it? How am I going to make this awesome? And I think once you stop comparing what you do with your husband, like are we doing everything 50-50? And you start saying, okay, you do your job. I'm going to focus on what I do and I'm going to do it well. And it's my relationship with my kids. Here's the analogy that I have. Typically, one person cooks the dinner, the other person washes. Usually the person who's better at cooking will do the dinner, and the person who's not better at cooking will do the dishes. Can you imagine if we did that 50-50, we're both chopping vegetables at the same time, adding vegetables to the pan at the same time, plating everything at the same time, then we're both in the sink washing dishes at the same time? Like, it makes more sense to be like, you are good at this, you do that. You are good at this, you do that. In most relationships, there's one person who's like caretaker and the nurturer, and like, of course my husband is also all of those things. You're both of these things, but like primarily one person's like more, right? And the other person's more of like the provider and the protector and the play person. I understand that these are like more traditional roles, but like I'm home with the kids most of the time, so I'm gonna lean into my strengths in that. He goes to work and he gets to come home and be like the fun, and he gets to lean into his strengths. And like for us, the sooner we like accepted that, the better it was. And why I feel like this is important is because I'm gonna carry the majority of the guilt. I like hesitate to put this out there because I just know how much pre-child self would be like, okay, Shayla, you're gonna be a housewife now, like cool. And I think working parents, again, are gonna have a very different perspective on this, but like all information, take the things that work for you and just like be like, you're crazy for the things that don't. When I realized that I'm gonna carry the majority of the guilt, I had to figure out how to like alleviate that, right? Because I don't just want to walk around feeling guilty all day. Guilt is a good thing because it cues you to think about, why am I not liking this? What's going on here that doesn't feel quite right or aligned for me? So to do that, I figured out what my priorities as a mom were. I want to make sure that we get active. I want to make sure that we get outside. I want to make sure that I get active and can get a workout in or get a little bit of me time. I want to connect with my kids during the day. So something I have guilt about, TV time. I think we all do. It's like ingrained in us that it's like the devil. I think it itself is not bad. I think what it's taking away from is bad. So like if you're watching TV all day, that means that you're not outside getting fresh air. You're not working your muscles. You're not connecting with anybody. Yes, there are like obviously things that are not great with TV, but I think for me, it's like, okay, we should be doing these things and not this thing. So for me, if we get outside all morning, I'm okay with some TV time in the afternoon. If they're watching TV and I'm in the other room doing nothing, I'm gonna put my phone away and sit and watch TV with them as a point of connection. If I'm like feeling like 100 and I'm about to lose my top, then I'm like, okay, let's just all take a minute and watch a show and just decompress for a minute and calm down. Because it's also important for me to be a calm and present mom. You see, so once I know the things that I do, then I'm more okay with these things that normally bring me guilt. So I figure out why they're bringing me guilt, because I'm not connecting, we're not getting outside, and then when I do those things, then I feel a little bit better about the thing. Why is mom guilt a thing in general? I think it's social media. Social media is like, it's an overwhelming amount of information about how to do everything perfectly. But we might not care about how to do everything. Like there's toddler activities, there's how to feed your kid the most nutritious meal. Getting so much information about like all the things, and all the information is conflicting. So you learn about sleep. There's two different sides that are both conflicting. And if you're just like generally looking for an answer, what is the right answer? And that's so stressful. For co-sleeping, for example, sometimes I complain about how things are. I'm like, we all wake up in the morning at the same time. So there's like, listen, every choice that we make, there's gonna be pros and cons. So if you want to sleep train, let's do it. But if you really want to co-sleep, then we're gonna have some cons and we're gonna have to deal with those things. And I was like, oh yeah. And it made me feel better about it, knowing that no matter what I choose, there's gonna be parts of it that I don't like. So I'm gonna do the thing that I like more. I'll be on social media DMing somebody, and we're talking about how the plates that we have are toxic, and like I thought they were healthy, but then I started looking into it, and then we're both sending each other articles and doing all these things. And I'm like, do you think our husbands worry about this stuff? And she's like, no, mine's sleeping like a baby in the other room. And like, if you look at your husband's feed, it's like sports, lawn care, I just learned. And again, I say husband, anybody, your partner. So then you're like, we're learning how to be parents via social media. Or I feel like maybe before social media, it was from movies, right? Like how the actors are doing it on the movies. But before that, it was our freaking families. Families were there to teach us. This is how our culture does it. This is how our family, this is what I did. This is how we're gonna do it. Now I feel like you just overnight become an engineer with no training. Okay, welcome to your first day of motherhood. Go. It's a lot. And I feel like if you have guilt, it means you're a good mom. That you're just concerned about it, but try not to let it overwhelm you. So here are a couple things that helped me with my mom guilt. A, figuring out what my priorities were, to know that when the guilty thing came in, I didn't feel as guilty about it, right? If my primary focus is to have my kids be independent, they're going to school with this eclectic outfit because they chose it. My priority is that they're independent. They chose their outfit. Go for it. When I think about food and like making sure that I feed them properly, I try and think about what I fed them in the week. So if one day we did not hit the mark, we ate mostly snacks for meals, more sweets than I would prefer, okay, but in the week, did we do a good job? Yes, we had protein for breakfast a lot in the morning. And when I think about getting outside and being active, for me in Minnesota, that's seasonal. In the summertime, we get out a lot. In the wintertime, we don't. Instead of trying to feel super guilty in the winter, which will inevitably happen because I want to get outside and I don't want to be inside. And we can get outside, it's just hard. I feel okay that this is kind of a slower season. We're probably gonna watch more TV. Probably gonna do more things inside, but in the summertime, we're gonna get out there. Are we awake? We just can't do it all. So next time you're feeling a little guilty about something, ask yourself why. Figure out the priorities that you have to figure out how you can do those things. It's like when you go on a diet, instead of being like, I'm gonna stop eating sugar, you're like, I'm gonna have protein for breakfast, I'm gonna have this for lunch, I'm gonna have this for dinner. It starts to push out those bad things because you're focusing on the things that you want in there instead of things that you don't want. So what activities and priorities do you have? Then it'll kind of push the things that you don't want out a little bit. These are just my thoughts on mom guilt. I think everyone has it, some degree. I hope it doesn't cripple you, and I hope this helps you. I will still continue to feel guilty for not going to pick him up 2.2 seconds after he cries, especially because I did it for my first. And then I think, like my second's way more physical touch, and I'm like, is it because you had to cry more than your first? The first child got so much attention that they feel like completely secure, and the second one does. Is that why that's happening? Is this one going to be even more attached to me because he gets like, and then you just start to spiral. But then I think, no, this one is getting a very calm, like his sleep stuff, not stressing about it for the most part. First one, that's the only thing I could think about. I was like trying to learn everything and do everything perfect, and like it was just super intense. Where this one, I'm like, all right, let's go, let's do this, like super laid back and chill. So he gets a different mom, one that he cries a little more, but one that's just a little bit more relaxed about all the things. Kinda. I'm still kind of crazy. Anyway, I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys all next week. If you liked the video, please like and please subscribe. Okay, bye.